Welcome to Advertising Champions, your go-to destination for insights into the dynamic world of advertising. I'm your host, Tony Stanol, and today we're talking with James Wright, who is the CEO of HAVAS Red, all the way from Sydney, Australia. Welcome, James.
Hi there, Tony. Good to speak to you today.
You too. Now, walk us really quickly about your, as I mentioned to you earlier, your illustrious career in advertising. And I want to get into the topic that you mentioned as well.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the game for about 25 years now. Started my career out at in the UK in London, working at a couple of international agencies. I developed kind of a real keen interest in sustainability and CSR for a while. And so I was running a couple of departments at some large agencies there. And in about 2010, 2011, I decided to move from the agency that I was at, which was called Grayling, to an agency called HAVAS. And I moved with them into a regional role in Sydney, Australia in 2011. And I was there in Sydney running the APAC part of their public relations and social media network for about 7 or 8 years before I took on the global role in 2018, moved to New York. I was there for 4.5 years, and last year returned back to Sydney as a great place to grow up with my family, well, have my kids grow up, should I say. And for me, everyone's a little bit more agnostic about where you deliver your global roles from these days, which is quite good. But I have to travel a lot.
Right. That's Sydney's a great city. I love it. My younger daughter actually went to a wedding there about 3 months ago and visited for the first time. But you mentioned a very interesting topic to me earlier, and I'd like to get into that a little bit about a trend that you have spotted that marketers could actually latch onto, take advantage of.
Yeah, sure. So I've most recently been giving talks and wrote a series of articles about the raging 20s. So the 2020s really is a decade of anger. Everyone is raging about something, whether it's about climate change, equity and inclusion, whether it's about the rights of around abortion, whether it's cost of living, whether it's war. And, we're actually also seeing record levels of customer service representatives being abused and being challenged by customers. And so how do brands, really lean into this raging 20s and turn it into an opportunity for brands that can tap into that mood and take action to turn that anger and upheaval into a force for connection? So that's kind of really fascinating, I think, to me. And so we're working with our clients on really helping turn that into more positive action.
It's very interesting. And being so, U.S. based myself, I can definitely see it very pronounced here in the U.S., especially in this election season. But you're saying it's a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah, for sure. We're seeing it in every market. I have a global role. I look after all of the PR network at HAVAS. And so 100 years on from the decadence and excess of the roaring 20s that we saw in the 1920s, this is really a decade of polarization and upheaval that couldn't be more different, really. From dancing the Charleston to rioting in Charleston after George Floyd's murder, from exuberance and Gatsby to exasperated and anger around the pandemic and now a cost of living crisis. There's a raging at broken systems as communities, countries, continents, and even corporations confront very urgent issues on every front, whether that's social, political, environmental, technological, or even economic.
Well, in the last few seconds here, James, give us an example or a work action of what a marketer can do.
Well, brands can break through the anger and forge meaningful connections when their customers, employees, and communities are angry, because you've got to remember that anger is a passion. It's a powerful and motivating emotion that is a bridge to connections that can build brand loyalty. We have some Kantar research that shows digital ads that elicit strong emotions have 4 times more impact than those with weaker emotional connections, and are more likely to go viral. They're more powerful in driving long-term brand equity, and nothing gets people talking more than something that they're outraged about. And so, how do we turn anger into action? And whilst there's harsh rhetoric, it's not new in American politics, of course, but the election in this decade is really up the ante in ways that one thought not possible, from harsh, ugly, and personal name calling to calling out, each other quite directly. And so, brands can get caught up in that, but actually, if you use it more strategically, they can turn it into that anger into action.
No, very good. Well, it's a fascinating topic, the raging 20s. Thanks for introducing that. We'll have to check out more of what you've written and said about this, James.
Thank you, Tony.
And thank you for joining us on this episode of Advertising Champions. You could find out more about us at dailynewsnetwork.com. And we'll see you next time.
We've been around for 16 years, working with clients, with thousands of clients. We're working with agencies to be able to scale them and grow them and provide them services that would cost them way more than it would for them to do it themselves. Anything oriented around lead generation, video creation, web design, we're full service, so we can really serve most people.